This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. I'm joined with the one and only Ralph Nader, a man who needs no introduction, and I call an expert in electoral politics, a man who doesn't choose the lesser of two evils, but stands on his principles, definitely. I would love to get your comments on what I can only describe as this major cluster mess of an election that's happening now. What is your take on the presidential election that's happening now?
Well, it's sort of the latest mutation of a circus, but it's a deadly circus because they're all jockeying to become leader of the United States who's got the finger on the button. So it's almost a perverse process where people who are not really qualified, but they have a lot of money in super PACs, get on the stage, and then it all becomes a personality thing, or quips, riposte, gaffes. Who's going to catch who? Who's going to respond to who in 10 words or less? So Twitter brains and Twitter exchanges do not produce a vibrant, accountable, democratic society. The second thing to notice is they've turned us all into spectators. It's entertainment. It's ratings now. And if we're turned into spectators, we've basically surrendered our accountability as citizens and our role as citizens. So the change is only going to come about by a mass rejection of this foolishness and the presentation in area after area of the people's agenda to the candidates, local, state, and national, before the 2016 elections, where the people summon them to debates shaped by the people, where the issues are placed on the table before the candidates. And we don't turn it around from candidates turning us into spectators fueled by corporate and other special interest money. We will continue to see our country run into the ground, and we may as well be cursed by our descendants.
Very well said. There's so much money, and if you've been just looking into politics in the elections, there's so many lies and so much manipulation, and they never come true with any candidate, with what they say and what they implement. It's the same policy just being implemented over and over again. I was wondering, since Trump is such an oddity compared to all these other elections, what do you think of Donald Trump?
Well, he's shaking up the system, which is good, because some things will fall out well, some things may not, but otherwise, you know, they were going to anoint another Bush with a right-wing vice president, beholden, both of them, to Wall Street and the corporate state. However, people are talking so much about Trump. Why don't they talk as much about Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders is getting bigger crowds around the country than Trump, and he doesn't have a vanguard to hustle up the crowds the way Trump does. And he is reflecting majority opinion. When he calls for full Medicare with free choice of doctor in the hospital, that's a more efficient, humane system. That's majority supported. He calls for a higher minimum wage that's inflation gutted. Tens of millions of people support that, whether they're conservative or liberal. He calls for cutting down on the war budget. A lot of people think that that money should rebuild and repair America. He's calling for a big public works program. He's calling for control of skyrocketing drug prices, changing the corporate tax system. And he's getting huge audiences. So let's get more questions about Bernie Sanders and fewer questions about Donald Trump.
Yeah. It is very interesting, because I was going to ask you, what do you think about Bernie Sanders next, but you pretty much just answered that question. It is interesting to see these two kind of outsiders kind of do make a big wave. You see Donald Trump saying, I'm not going to take any money. You see Bernie Sanders saying something that a politician would never say 4 years ago. Do you think this is a changing political landscape that we're all, seeing right now, with these two kind of outsiders kind of front-running everything?
It is certainly a change from recent presidential elections. Bernie is raising many millions of dollars in small denominations. He doesn't go to these fancy Wall Street fundraisers the way Obama and Hillary Clinton have done. And of course, Trump is going to be self-funded, or at least he says that. But Trump is a political outsider, but he's a corporate insider. So remember, he takes corporate welfare. He uses the bankruptcy laws to avoid paying his creditors. He's saying some critical things of hedge funds, which are good, critical things of Wall Street fat cats padding their own executive compensation, and he's saying some good things about, inadvertently, about why do you think we pay these politicians all this money? Pause. Well, it's because they do exactly what we want. So those are useful affirmations of what we've been saying over a long period of time, but it comes from a guy, who grew up in the corporate world. But he's got a long way to go to inform himself about foreign and military policy. He has said some things about tax reform, but by and large, the person who represents the popular will today is a longtime senator, representative, former mayor of Burlington, Vermont, Bernie Sanders.
Now, two criticisms I hear about Bernie Sanders is that people are saying nothing is free and someone will have to pay for all this healthcare and education. How do you answer that? And also, he also made a statement that he would continue the drone strikes. Two very big statements that kind of go against his original ideology.
Well, that's his weakness. His weakness is on foreign and military policy. He thinks that if he is as progressive there as he is on domestic policy, where he's very good, that he'll start losing support, or the media would start going after him. But I don't think he can avoid that. If he doesn't take Hillary on, Hillary is a militarist and a corporatist on those subjects, the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about, he's going to lose support. The other thing that's important is that Bernie is running on a record, a domestic record, but he's got to fill in the blanks on foreign and military policy. And he can't escape that, because if he is going to find the money for his public works projects, trillions of dollars, it's got to come from cutting the military budget. If he's going to have free tuition, it's going to come from his proposed good Wall Street transaction tax. So he's got to get a balance between his great record on domestic issues and opening up a progressive foreign policy where brute force is not the first option, because it's boomeranging on us, and all empires eventually devour themselves, and in the process they damage themselves long before they devour themselves.
Very great talking points. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say about the upcoming elections?
Yes, that it's easier than we think to turn it around if just 1% of the voters would organize in their living rooms and present their own agendas and get it on the internet and network other living room groups all over the country. You'd be surprised at the dynamics. Why? Because that 1% is representing a majority public opinion. And as Abraham Lincoln once said, with public sentiment, you can do anything. Without public sentiment, you can't do much of anything at all. And there's a huge left-right alliance in this country that has not been publicized on many major redirections in this country, including healthcare, civil liberties, against crony capitalism, Main Street interests before Wall Street, corporate tax reform, rights of privacy, and challenging empire and its boomerang on American people.
The link to Ralph's website will be in the description below. Thank you so much for your great analysis. Really appreciate your time. That was really great. Thank you.